what is cool and what is uncool? I feel like I've cycled between cool and uncool my whole life. And what that's basically taught me that there is no set definition of cool versus uncool. It's very dependent on it's not dependent on you. Like, it's dependent on what's happening outside of you and the people outside of you, and whether they feel like whoever you appear to be is cool or not. And it also, some people can, it doesn't have to be like, homogeneous, like across like everybody. Some groups can find you cool, some people can find you uncool, and it might be in like unusual places. Welcome back to my channel. So a lot has happened between last week, Thursday, and honestly Sunday. Right now it's Tuesday. I had one of my thesis meetings yesterday, which went fine. I just was so stressed prior for no reason, but I was making my presentation. I was studying a lot, so that took up so much time. And then honestly, I'm just recovering. Like, I'm so exhausted. I still feel really like off and like horrible just from like studying a lot and like the lack of sleep. I was fine, like okay, like that Friday. My committee meeting was like Monday, so like that Friday I was okay, and then like Saturday and Sunday it was just like really, being really pressed about it. So currently recovering, but now that I'm sort of getting over it, I'm excited to see like what's next and like actually do like things like regular lab work and not like stress about my committee meeting coming up. And as long as like, as well as doing regular lab work, again, I'm like zoning out because I'm so tired. As well as like regular lab work, I want to get out more, and we're getting over the horrible, like, at least I had a pretty rough fall, but especially like November through like January, there's a lot of things going on in my personal life. So, or like, a lot of things coming to a head. Like, the things were already happening, but then everything kind of like came to a peak around that time. So, that being said, I think a lot of great things are ahead. And I think what's worse is, or what's not that great is, I keep thinking about all the things I need to do, but what's not great is all the things I'm like catching up on, but I think it will all work out. It will all work out in my favor. We are claiming it right now. It's just some things I have to catch up on, and that's okay. So, we're going to get into what happened between Thursday and pretty much Sunday. Like I said, for between yesterday and today, nothing really happened except for my community meeting. I've just been trying to recover. So, Thursday happened, normal day in lab, just working as much as I can. I've still been practicing ballet as much as I can. But then on Friday, somehow, like, I completely forgot, but I got tickets to the New York City Ballet, and they were cheap tickets. So I remember I got them really fast, and I literally didn't get a reminder until like 30 minutes before I had to leave. I actually had 30 minutes.
Do you know you have 30 minutes?
Are you kidding me?
30, yes.
So I got a reminder 30 minutes ahead of time, and I was like, am I going to go? Am I going to go? Anyways, decided to go. I had to take an Uber. I think the Uber was like 20. I was only 20 minutes away, and I saw an amazing show. And it's funny because New York is so small. It seemed like so many people were there, but then someone was like, hey, I saw you there. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So it was such a good time. I was extremely tired then too. Just like, I just think I need to take better care of myself. So that's a goal I'm going to have. I'm also going to try to block out like my dirty kitchen, but I am not taking care of myself in the best I can. I'm doing like I feel like the best I can do, but I know I'm not taking care of myself as much as I should. And that's okay because every day I am working towards it. And the reason why I'm flipping through the the playbill that the New York City Ballet gave. Okay, yes, because I want to make sure I get this right. So it was a full Stravinsky performance, and there was amazing choreography. There was a lot of there was like a visual designer who was new and really good, and that was who was like everything around it was not only around the music by Igor Stravinsky, but also by the like the designer itself or the visual designer. And it was just amazing. I can't stress enough. Like, here are some of the dancers. Let me see, what piece is this? This was the Danse Concertante. And yeah, having live music and watching ballet, it was a spiritual, I feel like everybody there had a spiritual experience. It was just, I like, we should all dance to live music, honestly. So that was a great time. So on Friday, I went to the ballet show. On Saturday, I felt really strange. I was supposed to like study and stuff, but I ended up just like walking around New York. Like, I just I think I just like walked around the Upper West Side. Like, I really didn't do anything, but I just like walked outside. I walked in Central Park, which was really nice because I don't go to Central Park when it's really cold, because I mainly go to Central Park when it's nice for running or for hanging out with friends. I don't go like any other time, or to watch, like, sometimes they have like series like free music dancing in the middle of the park, but that's all during the summer. So I went during the first time during the winter, and the snow on the ground was beautiful, and I saw people sledding, and it was just a nice time, and it just was really sunny. So I just looked at the sun, was spending time in Central Park, and then I just went home and just came back, went to sleep. And then on Sunday I did like lock in and get my work done and got my presentation done, made it through my presentation. And yeah, I mean, things aren't the best that I want them to be, but I understand that I'm doing my best. And so that is what I always applaud myself for. It's not like I am trying to do poorly. I feel like that would be a whole other story and a whole other situation I'd be talking to myself about. It's like I'm doing the best I can do. Like, I know that deep down. It's not where I want to be, but it's the best I can do. And that's all that we can do for ourselves. So, still making it out to do things, like even if it's by myself. So I went to ballet, I think like last week, Tuesday. I didn't go to ballet today because today's Tuesday. I'm not sure if I can make it on Thursday. Stay tuned for the reasons why, but we'll see if I can go to ballet on Thursday. But I'll still stay and practice. Another thing, I have some other cool hobbies coming up. Like I said, I'm not sure if I said this, but I joined my figure skating team. And it's not like I was on a figure skating team in undergrad, so I know it's not going to be like that, but it's going to be nice to just have some ice time. And at first I was like, oh, I want to do it really competitively. But now just doing ballet, and I want to lock in with ballet a little bit more. I'm just like, I'm just going to have fun figure skating. I think it doesn't matter what happens from it, or what comes of it. I think it's going to be really fun. So that's what's going on in life. Hobbies, fun, school. Thankfully, I get a reset with my committee meeting, and I am surviving the best I can with that. In terms of like YouTube and what I do for my side business, I know I need to pay attention to that. That is another story, though. I have a plan on how I'm going to lock in with that, but that's going to be happening soon as well. So we have all of those things going on. And yeah, let's get into the contents of this video. I have a lot of video ideas that have come to me in the shower, actually, and that I think align with what is going on in my life. But I think I'm going to just talk through one of the ideas that I have, and it's about being cool and uncool. Let's sit in for that conversation. Let's get cozy. So, what is cool and what is uncool? I feel like I've cycled between cool and uncool my whole life. And what that's taught me, that's basically taught me that there is no set definition of cool versus uncool. It's very dependent on it's not dependent on you. Like, it's dependent on what's happening outside of you and the people outside of you, and whether they feel like whoever you appear to be is cool or not. And it also, some people can, it doesn't have to be like, homogeneous, like across like everybody. Some groups can find you cool, some people can find you uncool, and it might be in like unusual places. Like, you might seem uncool in places that you might not think of, which I'll talk about, and then cool in other places that you wouldn't think you would be cool in. And that was another lesson to me, to not be afraid of getting in any type, like being in different groups of people who have interests that differ from yours, because you never know what groups you are going to be cool in. And hopefully, like, if you come across just being cool, maybe you can obtain, like, have good relationships from those people. But if not, just know that it's not on you to be cool versus uncool. And I feel like the need to be cool or uncool traps you in certain places, certain things, because if you leave that place or leave that thing, you might be uncool. Not only that, you can become uncool at any point in a certain situation, but I feel like the desire to be liked and to be cool completely traps you. But I do understand the other side of it, where being uncool is painful. And I think I've had like a push and pull relationship with being uncool. Of course, when I was younger, I always wanted to be cool, but there were times, honestly, I feel like I cared less than the average person. I still feel like I care a little bit less than the average person about being cool. Just It's just like how I operate. I feel like and it's kind of horrible, because I feel like I can fit in more if I do certain things, and I do that a little bit, especially now, to try to survive school, because that's a completely different story. But I definitely care less than the average person, and it gets me into a lot of trouble, because when people view you as uncool, it can make other aspects of your life difficult. I completely recognize the need to be cool or to fit in, because it does make life extremely difficult. And not all the time. Other times that I've been uncool has been fine. It's like I have a few people who I'm friends with who I think I'm cool. And then let's say there's a vast majority who thinks I'm uncool. It's like, whatever. Right now, me being uncool in school, I do think the problem is, the reason why that's so hard is because of racism and bias, honestly. Because them treat, like, me being uncool, the way they're treating me is not just me being uncool. Like, the way they're acting, they would not act toward another person. And it's just something I have to deal with, being a Black person. And maybe other uncool people deal with it. But yeah, I don't think normal people deal with their peers and just like faculty and literally not acknowledging you. I'm not even sure if I said this, but yeah, I've been at Columbia for 4 years. Again, I'm a PhD student at Columbia. I'm in, I won't say my department, but I'm in STEM. And there are people who, since day one, I would go up and be like, hey, my name is Demi. What's yours? And they'll just walk away. So I've never experienced it to that degree. So this is a new one. This is a new low. But in the past, when I've been uncool, it's been fine. It's like, okay, you don't want to talk to me. You think I'm lame or whatever. You think the way I act is lame. Like, for me, it was like, usually I am too much, which is such a great quality to have, because everybody who acts too cool for school, they're so boring. Like, when you take a step back, let's say you leave your hometown, you leave that school. Like I said, everyone's acting this certain way now in school with me. Once we leave school, it's a whole other ball game that they're going to have to face. So, I know they're going to have to deal with that. I'm a grown up. I know what they're going to have to deal with after this. But let's say you haven't gone through this full circle experience with, let's say, being cool, and you're just going through a period of being uncool, and you're safe. That's the thing. Like, I would say there are people who are bullies. That's completely different than being uncool. If you're being bullied, that is something that needs to be addressed by someone bigger than you. But let's say you're safe and but you're uncool for whatever reason. And if you, again, you take a step back, and the people who are cool are usually so boring. Like, they're so boring. And if you and the reason why I say this is because if you have to define yourself as cool, you're probably, or like there is a cool group, it's probably a boring group. Situations where I felt cool, there wasn't a cool group. Like, we were all kind of connected to, everybody was connected, and we were all nice to each other. And I felt cool because we were all cool with each other. And I felt like I could be myself, and no one was excluded. And I think that's the difference between, for me, when I was feeling cool, it was like a harmony with everybody who I in my environment. And it's not always 100%. Obviously, you get in conflict with people, but those are the times where I felt cool around people who I feel were like just were like just were normal people and accepting people, and allowed just an environment where I could open up and be myself. People who determine their coolness based off of stepping on somebody else. So if you have to put somebody else down, or you have to isolate yourself, or like click yourself up to and talk bad about other people to feel above other people, and you think you're cool, and like everybody's looking at you like the cool group, that is not cool. And it's unfortunate because this is always going to happen. There's always going to be a clique in some universe, and there's always going to be this clique who are the cool group, and everybody gives them that power of seeming that they're cool, and they're honestly, and they also are usually a pretty, they exclude people, not all the times. There are some people, I remember in like cool groups in high school where the people really tried to exclude me too. There's a little bit of racism there as well. And again, racism, things that I know of, like people said that people's parents said that I wasn't allowed over their house because I'm Black. Like, literally, this was said. So these are facts. Like, this is not, these are complete facts. Whether or not it was my perception or not, there are facts behind it. But there are people in those cool groups who like also just, I think we're cool people as well. They really wanted, we were friends, like, honestly. And it was funny because the other people were always like so disgusted. And that's something I've noticed in my life too. Like, people are either like, very rarely are people like neutral towards me. There are some people, there are, I think, a good amount of normal level people who are acquaintances in my life who are pretty neutral towards me. But more often than not, I've noticed that people are either very disgusted by me, like, truly. I think that's also a bias thing. Like, we know that there's a look, especially white people give you, where it's like, I don't even know if they realize that they're giving it, but they just look at you as a Black person and they're just like, they have like an ick face. And again, I don't think they know that they're doing it. So not only the ick face, but they just kind of like act like I'm so disgusting. So I've had people in those groups be like, "Hey, Demi," and like want to be friends with me, and they like talk to me and text me, and like everybody else in the group is like, "Ew," and I don't hang out with the rest of the group because they don't say anything, but I can tell that they're like, "Ew, God, like Demi's disgusting." So, and again, I know this is, I might cut that out, the Demi's disgusting thing, because that's negative self-talk, but that was the perception I had with their ick face and the way I was treated at the time. And these are things that I battle now. But though I'm battling being uncool by the cool group, and this is another thing, being uncool is relative. So I have people in my immediate environment who are clicked up. There's a click, and I'm not in the click. So therefore, I am uncool. And oh my God, my mouth is making like so many noises. I hate that. I feel like when I'm tired, it's just like I sound like the most disgusting person ever. Again, I need to cut that out. I really don't want to do any cutting with this because guys, I can't do any cutting. So we're gonna watch this. And if I keep this in, just ignore it. Ignore any negative self-talk. Do not talk to yourself like that. So, being outside the clique right now and being uncool, it has given me so much perspective. Like, I learned so much more when I'm uncool than when I'm cool. Because when I'm cool, I'm la-di-da-di-da. I'm not learning anything. it's great to have a period of being like cool and just coasting. But when every time I was cool, I realized I had such a hard time relating to, and I guess like it wasn't like I was having like the easiest time in the world, but I definitely had a hard time like with other people because I was just like, why aren't you hanging out with us? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, why are you so closed off? Like, why are you this? Why are you that? And the reality is that people are traumatized. I'm traumatized now. And it's not from the actual act of being uncool, but it's more like the things that are done to you. Like, being uncool doesn't always equate to being bullied, but, they can happen together and it does quite often. So, those people who were traumatized, I didn't get it. I'm going through I'm happy. I'm just like everything's great. I feel cool. Like I might not say those words, but I think back then I like felt like cool, and that was what was going on. That was what was going on with me. So when I went through those periods, I wasn't learning anything about relationships, people, and a lot about myself. Right now, I'm learning a lot about myself, like too much, honestly. And I'm not going to lie, it's really tough, but I know I'm going to come out of this with just having grown so much. So that is something you can take away from being uncool. You learn about yourself and you learn about other people. And I feel like when you're clicked up, you miss so many opportunities, whether people avoid you because you're in the clique or just because you're like, I have my clique, I don't need anybody else. And then you kind of, you just isolate yourself from getting more perspectives and hanging out with more people. Because I realized that clique that's been there for 4 years, they haven't added any new people to the clique. And I think they've added like one person, but the person's like exactly the same as them. You aren't learning anything. You're just in your comfort zone if you're only going to be around people who are just like you. So, being cool, if you want, again, the clique, if you want to be around people just like you for your entire life and be isolated in that box and then can't relate to any other person who isn't like you, then go and be cool. I rather go and be uncool and meet so many other people, relate to so many other people, and expand my friendships, expand my relationship, expand my own mind. I rather do that than be cool. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's better to be uncool, point blank. And I have some other opinions too, just about school in general, but I just can't stress enough how much it doesn't matter. Like we have to not put weight on being cool. And it sounds so cringy to say that, and you might not think that directly, but I feel like there's always a level. Like when you say like cringe, like all these things, like they all can sum up, to be shown as uncool. Another thing about it. So we talk about like expanding your mind and like how when you're uncool, you can, expand your relationships, but also when you're uncool, you can expand new hobbies. So if I was cool in the clique, I might not have been making this video right now, because when you're in the clique, you judge others, but you're also being judged. Not like, you know what I mean? When you're in Mean Girls, like you were judging everybody else, but also there's judgment within the clique. There's a little leader in the clique always. I know who the leader is in the clique at school, and they judge, they all judge each other. So, and I feel like when you're in the clique and you're judged, it probably feels more intense because they're just so close to you. You can't lose clique because then your whole world's going to fall apart. And you're going to, it's just like, that's, I feel like how it would feel putting myself in their shoes, aka just watching Mean Girls. Also, like that's where I get these perspectives from like looking in the clique and just, from being a Black person. And when you're in a predominantly white space, you're very rarely in the clique. So I'm always looking from the outside. And so I'm just taking in everything that I, have learned. I don't really like learning from like TV shows, but I think that's a great reference. So when you're in the clique, you're being judged, and you are kind of you're shrinking yourself, honestly, to fit in now with the clique and with the boundaries that you guys put, like with the box, with the lines you guys put around yourselves. And then you're hurting yourself. And that's what I'm saying about expanding your mind. When you try to be cool, or when you're like, oh, I'm the cool group, I'm in the cool clique, you are abandoning parts of yourself? When are you gonna are you allowing yourself to explore different things, different ideas, different hobbies, like different ways of living in your clique? If you're not able, if you feel like you can't change within your friend group to like better yourself or just change in general, then maybe that friend group isn't for you. And so again, because cool is relative, you don't have to be a clique group at a school to be like feeling this way, being like, oh, I'm being judged. If you are staying in a friend group specifically and you're worried about being judged and all these things, it's something to think about. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you why are you trying to maintain these relationships? Or is it because you feel lonely? Is it because it will look bad? That's also something to consider too. And pretty much, I still feel like that goes under the umbrella of being cool or uncool. If you say something, speak up in the group, that's uncool for you to say something against the group. And that just hinders you in general. So if, let's say you're like, I don't care about getting more relationships, I'd rather be cool. I'd rather have my friend group who I feel like judges me or whatever, but I'd rather be with them than be without. Think about yourself and your future self. What if you look up one day, and I feel like this happens a lot, and as I'm getting older, I've noticed this happen with people. You look up and it's just like these friends don't care about you, and you've ruined yourself over these people. And it's a horrible thing to look at yourself and be like, I did all of this and I hindered myself for no reason. You know what I mean? I hindered myself for people who don't care about me. And you don't have to like X out everybody in your life. Let's say you're worried about your judgment. Like, am I being judged? Is it me? Is it them? Is it me? Is it them? You don't have to ditch them right now, but think about it. Just be yourself. And if they drop out, they drop out. If you're uncool to them, you're cringe to them, so what? Do what you want to do. Like, who cares? At the end of the day, be yourself, because they are not you. And when you look in the mirror in like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and like they're like talking their stuff, they're talking, like that is just going to be background noise. You matter more than anything else. And it took me a while to realize that. Another reason why I say this was because, there was definitely like points in my life when I was enamored by cool people, or people who are self-proclaimed cool people. Now that I'm older, I realize that no one's cool or uncool. But when I'm younger, this happened. And I was in a relationship with somebody who I thought was cool. And later on, I realized like they're just so like just judgmental and boring. And they made this clique for themselves. And they're just mean people. And when you're in a clique, I think clique honestly has a negative connotation to it. And I don't like that necessarily, but I think strong friend groups are great. But I do think there's a difference between a strong friend group and, a clique. You know what I mean? So I feel like when I was with those people, like I was like, oh, I finally somehow got in with the cool people. They always wanted something from me. They always made me feel horrible about myself. They always made me feel horrible in general because they would talk about other people, and I just felt like it was unjust. And it just like was horrible. And I spent too long trying to be with these cool people because I was like, well, other people like them, so, and other people talk to them all the time, so I might as well spend time with them. Like, obviously they're cool, they are charismatic or whatever, but at the end of the day, I realized that they don't like me. I don't know, something about being in a cool group, like, why doesn't anyone like each other? And then they don't like me. I'm like, why are you hanging out with me? And I feel like that's always with cool people. It was the cool groups. I'm not saying those people when I talked about earlier who would come out and be like, hey, Demi, and they really were nice to me, but they were in the cool groups. Those were different. Like, we actually liked each other. They're very sweet people, and they're so very sweet people. But sometimes when I'm in a clique, they truly like don't like me. They kept bringing me around, but they don't like me. And I feel like another thing in the clique, sometimes they'll pick a person to hate on. So they have everybody in the outside world to hate on, but in the clique, the reason why you're so worried about changing because you are at risk of being that person that nobody likes and will pick on, and then it will help the rest of the people in the clique bond more. Such a huge issue. So then you're worried about yourself. Like then you're in survival mode 24/7. Might as well be by yourself and talking to the camera like this, like I am right now. No, it's like that is such a dumb thing. Like worrying about being uncool. My friends now accept and love everything that I do, every part of me. Like I can't imagine being in a friend group where they're like making fun of me. I mean, the clique is making fun of me, but at least they're not my friends. And you know what I mean? Or at least we're not pretending to be friends. So I just can't imagine. Think about this carefully. If you're worried about losing friendships and being alone, that is another battle. But I really think it's important to practice being alone because at some point in your life, you're going to be alone. And also, technically, we're alone all the time. We're like little separate bodies. We came into this life. Well, I won't say all of that, but we had to get comfortable with being alone. A lot of great things happen when you're by yourself. And loneliness, not sustained loneliness, but being comfortable being alone will help you understand yourself and then can open the door for better relationships and will allow you to not tolerate these bad relationships. So really assess what's going on in your life. If you're feeling horrible all the time because of the relationships in your life, think about separating that because maybe that's time for redirection. It's not your fault, but maybe it's time to redirect and see about my little microphone battery is dying. But maybe it's time to redirect and think about being alone to open the door for better friends and better friend groups and better relationships and better opportunities. Maybe you need to dive into yourself and dive into your mind. Like maybe something is you need to dive into some self-reflection, learning, etc. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself. When you are alone, you can get amazing things done. But you also have to balance being alone and exploring relationships. Don't be afraid of relationships. Try them. It's okay if you slip into a clique. It's okay. And the main thing is it's okay to slip into these groups or whatever, but you have to be able to recognize it and not be afraid to step outside of it when you need to. So, all that to say is that all I can say is that I'd rather be uncool. I've realized that. I'd rather be uncool. And I'm just so grateful I can explore I've explored so much of myself, especially in these past like 9 months or so. Being single and really being alone. Alone as in I go and see friends, but just not being free to not allow like the people who are cool, but like I could talk to them or try to talk to them, but I just don't anymore, and I choose myself. Like that has been so eye-opening to me, and that shows me a lot of strength. Me not trying to please other people all the time, just basically it's just letting go. If someone wants to treat me like that, I'm not gonna do cartwheels, try to make them like me. If you don't want to talk to me, it's kind of like taking your power back. It's kind of crazy because these cool people, I realized that they would always be wanting my attention. Like whenever I would mess up, I'd be like, oh my God, I need to try to talk to them, make it up to them. And then I just stopped. Like if they want to ignore me, I'm just going to do my thing. And that makes them so angry. And it was a very interesting observation. So just do your own thing, get your energy back. Who cares? Like at the end of the day, they're going to be stuck in their ways and you're going to be flourishing. And that's not to compare yourself to another person, but like I said, you should never be with you should never idolize people who have to put themselves above others to feel important. You should never have to feel the need to do that yourself. You should never have to feel the need to put down somebody to stay at the level that you're at or the clique that you're at. You should never feel like you have to put up with people judging other people. Like, for me, what messed me up is like the judgment on other people. So I felt really I felt cringe about that. Why are we talking badly about somebody who has something happening to them that they can't control? I feel like that's not nice. I wouldn't want somebody to say that about me. So, better to be uncool. That's the subject. We have some other amazing subjects that are be coming up in later videos. But for now, I have some B-roll in here from the week. I'm going to put that in here, maybe still talk on the mic over it, but enjoy the B-roll. I might be cutting this in half. Just enjoy it. And, let me know. If you're watching this, let me know what else you want to see in New York. In New York, talk about reflection. What questions do you have about school, life, anything that I can answer, I would like to. So have a great, great evening. I'm going to try to post again on Thursday. Might be more of a talking video. I have some more tea to spill, so I might be doing that. But until next time, thank you for watching my video.